Get this, the Steam Autumn Sale is finally here. Here are 30 of my top picks for sales you may not have known about. The XCOM series is usually on sale on Steam. That is nothing new, but now you can get the entire franchise for an extremely affordable price. This is the game series that brought turn-based strategy games back from the dead and why you are now seeing so many XCOM likes these days. Next, we're going to get into the Warhammer 40k games. It's pretty shocking 40k Darktide is already a year old, and the Traitor Curse Anniversary Update Part 1 has some great content and quality of life improvements. This game has a fantastic death punk soundtrack as you are mowing down hordes of enemies in an all-new map, and Part 2 will be coming out in just a couple weeks. Next, we have Gladius Relics of War, which is a little bit of an older title which was released back in 2018, but it's held its value for quite some time now. As one of the best turn-based strategy 4X games in the 40k franchise, this game is never this inexpensive and is a total steal. Just know, if you're a 40k fan, be aware that this game is Death by DLC. Chaos Gate Demon Hunters. It's XCOM in space! In fact, this game does away entirely with the random miss the target at point blank range gaff that the XCOM series is known for. It's not a perfect game, but it is a damn good turn-based strategy game with deep mechanics and a steeper than usual learning curve. Lost Judgment is half off right now, and this is lauded as one of the more action-adventure focused of the Yakuza games, with a more martial arts heavy style of gameplay, but still a great storyline. As one Steam reviewer put it, this game made them lose their judgment. The absolute worst part of this next game is that it wasn't a co-op game. Had it been a co-op game, it would have stood toe-to-toe with games like Divinity Original Sin 2. You could literally spend 1,000+ hours playing this game for $12, and it's very good, and it looks pretty. What more do I need to say? Hunt Showdown was the game Crytek made after Crysis, and it features extremely unique asymmetric online gameplay, and there seems to always be something new going on in this gorgeously creepy and brutal game that has recently seen a big resurgence. Sniper Elite 5. This game was just released last year, and while the co-op experience was fairly copy-paste mediocre, this is still a great blockbuster movie action-style sniping game in the single-player campaign where you can silently explode a Nazi officer's testicles clean off from 1,000 meters away. GG. Released just 5 months ago, this iconic fighting game has completely returned to form while making some huge modern improvements. This game is being hailed as one of the best fighting games of all time. Some of my friends even think this game should be Game of the Year. Obviously, they are wrong and they don't know anything about video games, but you should still check it out. Marvel Midnight Suns. What do you get when you combine the most awkwardly friend-zoned main character of all time with the developer of XCOM and Marvel Comics? You get this oddly fun romp through Marvel's superheroes and villain storylines in a turn-based strategy game that on paper makes zero sense, but in actuality is a great time. Did that not make any sense at all? Yeah, okay, fair enough. So, if you want to hear our take on this game, check out our last Steam sale video. That is a lot more in-depth than just 5 minutes. Prey. This was one of 2017's biggest hidden gems. A lot of people didn't get to play this one because of massive releases like Breath of the Wild, Persona 5, Super Mario Odyssey, and Horizon Zero Dawn. But this was Arcane Studios at some of their best in their true form when they were known for Dishonored as a studio before they somehow released Redfall willingly. Sad but true. Go check this one out if back then you didn't get to. Bringing in our top spot of what the actual fuck from software, we have Armored Core 6 with not even a 10% discount. Kids, don't let your CEO get too drunk before the holidays. Makes you wonder if they can even read the room these days. Oh right, they can't. Well, now this game will undoubtedly sink back into most PC players' backlog. Mass Effect Legendary Edition is on sale for 80% off, just letting you scientist Solarians know. Moving on, speaking of people that can't read the room, we have Gotham Knights, which is actually a fairly decent co-op action-adventure game that most reviewers played as a single-player game and said, this isn't what I want. Fair enough, I guess, but again, it's not a bad co-op game with 4 very different characters with some very immersive tag team attacks, so at this price, you should at least watch a trailer or something. I don't know, I just work here. This section of the video is called Cheapskate Souls-like Gamers Rejoice. Not saying this is a Game of the Year level game by a long shot, but this was heavily underrated at launch, and this series is only just now getting credit for how good it actually was as a technocratic rock'em sock'em Souls-like, whatever that means. But wait, there's more, literally. The Surge 2 improved on the original's combat mechanics and tech tree, but not much else, and was kind of a paint-by-numbers sequel game, but it's also newer, and only $6, so check it out. Salt and Sanctuary. Do you like Dark Souls? Well, we put a Dark Souls game in your Metroidvania, featuring a gritty hand-painted art style and rich RPG elements. It's 2D Dark Souls, fitting. Mortal Shell, a solid Souls-like experience with some unique mechanics and an interesting hardened armor state that acts as a block button. It can be clunky, but it can also be a lot of fun and has some very impressive visuals at times. But it's a very love it or hate it kind of game. Chances are you played this one, but in case you didn't and you want to catch up on this franchise so you can finally start Jedi Survivor, check it out. This is probably one of the best modern Star Wars games and is an excellent Souls-like. Yeah, we know, Coder is GOAT, but unless they finish the trilogy or actually make a remake, no one is playing it in 2023, so get over it and play this awesome game instead. Lords of the Fallen just launched, and while it's not perfect, it's an interesting Souls-like with great art design, and a two worlds laid on top of each other game mechanic that spans throughout the entire game. So this 34% off is a great deal. Spec Ops: The Line. This game is a piece of media that depicts war in a gruesome and brutal way and challenges the good guys versus bad guys narrative in a very dark and gritty tone. But if that's what you're into, like I am, play this game. It's $6 and a shockingly powerful hidden gem with excellent gameplay mechanics, and overall this game was really just ahead of its time. Metal Hellsinger. Yeah, okay, I don't know jack shit about death metal, other than the fact I do like this guy. Not even sure if that counts, to be honest. But I do know how to spot a good game, and this game is part Doom, part Rock Band, and all awesome. And if you like the other people in this photo, you will probably love this game. Just imagine there's an extra 6 right there, you devil worshippers. Even if you're not a metalhead, this game is still pretty great, and most people give it about an 8. Now, if only Tech 9 was in the sequel. Guardians of the Galaxy. I covered this game in my last Steam sale video, and it's definitely worth a watch, so click here if you want a deeper look, but the short and sweet of it is that this is an excellent action-adventure game with even better voice acting. This is a total steal, and this really was some people's biggest hidden gem of the year when it was released, and was nominated several times over in various different categories at the Game Awards. Resident Evil. Now is a great time to be a gamer if you're a Resident Evil fan. Nearly all of the games in the franchise are on sale, but our picks for the best game that will more than likely appeal to the widest audience is either Resident Evil 3 or 4 for the action gamers, and Village and Biohazard if you prefer more of the horror aspect. But you can probably just pick the one you haven't played yet, because this whole series is excellent. Well, except for 6. Everyone seems to unanimously agree that one sucked. Mafia Definitive Edition. This is the Mafia series at its peak, the most recent release, and aside from that one damn racing mission, which I think there's a mod where you can use to skip it, this is an excellent storyline, and you really can easily get lost in this world, so long as you remember this is essentially a remaster of the original, so not everything is as explorable as most modern open world games. But that's kind of the only ding on this one. Batman Arkham Knight is $4, and that is an incredible deal if you haven't played it, because this is one of the most visually stunning games of the last decade and is still talked about today on YouTube about just how insanely gorgeous it is. Not to mention, this is the 3rd game in the franchise, and you can absolutely tell that everything in this one was a labor of love. You probably already played this, but in case you didn't, you should. Still holds up today 8.5 years later. In fact, you can grab the entire Arkham series for less than $10 now, which is insane. Helldivers 2 is coming out next year, and if you didn't play the first game, you can do so now for $5 and see what all the hype is about. This is a twin-stick shooter with a lot of style and is all about teamwork, and therefore is an excellent co-op pickup this season. Dragon's Dogma. Similar to Helldivers, Dragon's Dogma 2 is coming out soon, and if you never played it, then you should. Seriously, this game is actually one of the most hidden gem action RPGs of its time, and this game was way ahead of its time in terms of actual gameplay mechanics. It took a little while for people to really notice this one, but you can expect this series to become extremely mainstream when the sequel launches next year, so $5 ain't bad. Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga. Yet another game series we featured in our last Steam sale video, but at the time, the Skywalker Saga was a little bit more expensive, so with it being 70% off now, you can enjoy one of the best LEGO games in the franchise. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection. We have this game extremely close to the top of our last Steam sale video, which you should definitely go check out still as we go into more depth about why this game is such a great value, but the short and sweet version is that you're getting 2 Uncharted games for $30, and both are fantastic, and we can even say at least one of them is a masterpiece. So get this. It was pretty difficult talking about 30 games in under 10 minutes, so subscribe and smash that like button, but more importantly, share this video in your favorite gaming group chats, forums, and discords, and if you click on our end screen Steam videos, we will hit you with even more of our top Steam sale recommendations, and we will be right back after these messages.